Corpbiz.
Hello and welcome to Corpbiz. My name is Shaleen, and today in this video I will take you through a journey on the developments that took place in the EIA notifications since it was released in 1994. Till 1994, the process of environmental clearance was an administrative decision. When the first EIA notification was introduced, the Environment Protection Act was already enacted in 1986 and functioning as an umbrella legislation. With the release of this notification, the government streamlined the process of environmental clearance. Potentially polluting industrial activities were listed in the Schedule 1 of the 1994 notification. With time, this notification underwent many amendments, and in 2006, a new amendment was released. The 2006 version also went through a series of amendments. Till today, the 2006 notification sees amendments from time to time, the latest being in 2022, wherein the government exempted standalone re-rolling units or cold rolling units operating at the time of the amendment from the public consultation process. Meanwhile, in 2020, the MOEF also released a draft EIA notification to replace the 2006 version. However, due to criticism faced from the public, this notification remains to be implemented. So let's go back to 1994. The version of EIA notification listed out projects in Schedule 1 that needed to obtain environmental clearance from the central government. The project proponent needed to assess if the project or the activity came under the purview of environmental clearance at the screening stage. Then the proponent conducted an EIA study either directly or through a consultant. The stage of scoping was not applicable at this time. Therefore, the project proponent ultimately decided the terms of reference without any public consultation. In the year 1997, the first major amendment was made. Through this, public hearing process was introduced in the clearance process. The concerned SPCB were to conduct public hearing to gather views and concerns of the community, along with forming a public hearing committee to ensure fair representation of public hearing process. Next, through the amendment of June 2002, pipeline and highway projects were exempted from the EIA process. In addition to it, many projects were entirely exempted from the environmental clearance based on the level of investment. If the investment was less than 100 crores in case of new projects or less than 50 crores in case of expansion or modernization of projects, the proponent was not required to obtain environmental clearance. The next significant amendment came in February 2003 when the MOEF included location sensitivity in the environmental clearance process and prohibited certain operations in the specific areas of the Aravalli range. Then, through the amendment of May 2003, the government expanded the list of activities that involved risk or hazards such as major irrigation projects, river valley projects including hydel power projects and their combination. Next, with the amendment of August 2003, projects that were located in critically polluted areas within a 15-kilometer radius from the boundary of reserved forest or any ecologically sensitive areas such as national parks, sanctuaries and biosphere reserves were required to obtain environmental clearance from the central government. Next, the amendment in September 2003 made site clearance mandatory for greenfield, airports, petrochemical complexes and refineries. Another provision was added to the notification that exempted exploration activities from public hearing process in case the project was from offshore and beyond a 10-kilometer radius from the nearest village boundary, ecological sensitive area, national park, coral reefs, marine parks, sanctuaries, reserve forest and breeding or spawning grounds for marine life. Now, in the amendment of July 2004, EIA was made mandatory for construction and industrial estate. After this came the amendment of July 2005. Through this, projects related to the expansion or modernization of river valley projects, nuclear power plants and related projects, ports and harbors, thermal power plants, airports and mining projects with an area of more than 5 hectares could be taken up without prior EC. Next comes the year 2006 and a new notification is released by the ministry. A few significant changes were brought by the notification that related to the decentralization of power. Some major additions included the projects in Schedule 1 were divided into Category A and B. Category A projects required clearance from MOEF while Category B required clearance from SEIAA or the State Environment Impact Assessment Authority at the state level. The respective state was to assess if the project under category B fell under category B1 or B2. Category B2 projects did not need an EIA reporting. The scoping stage was introduced and the responsibility of determining the terms of reference or TOR was given to the Expert Appraisal Committee or EAC. The scoping stage were required in case of category A and B1 projects. The final TOR by the EAC depended on the information given by the proponent. All category A and B1 projects were required to undertake public consultation or public hearing except for specific exemptions such as expanding roads and highways, modernizing irrigation projects, etc. Let's now discuss some of the major amendments that were made to the 2006 version. Some of these were minor and included only small insertions, substitutions and deletions, but some other modifications were significant, brought new dimensions to the 2006 notification. The number of paragraphs in the original notification now stands at 14. Let's see some of the major amendments. The amendment of October 2007. This prescribed the qualification and eligibility criteria concerning the chairman and the member EAC. Next, the amendment in the EIA notification in December 2009. After this amendment, the project proponent in category A projects, when got the environmental clearance, was to make this certificate of approval public and host the environmental conditions and safeguards by advertising it in at least 2 local newspapers in the areas where the project was located. The proponent was also directed to display the details on its website permanently. Next comes the amendment in January 2016. It was one of the most important amendments where some significant changes were introduced, such as a new category in B2 was inserted in the schedule, which was related to the mining of minor metals. This amendment also led to the formation of DEIAA for matters falling under category B2. The amendment also put mining of minor minerals up to 5 hectares of mining lease area under the purview of the new committees at the district level. This amendment also led to the formation of District Level Expert Appraisal Committee or DEAC. Also, this amendment also led to the exemption of extraction of ordinary clay or sand, manual removal of sand deposits on agricultural fields, customary extraction of sand and ordinary earth from gram panchayats for community or personal use in the village from prior environmental clearance. Next comes the amendment in the EIA notification of March 2016. This amendment introduced paragraph 13 for preparing and presenting EIA report and the EMP or Environment Management Plan. Only consultant organizations accredited for a particular sector and project category for that sector with accreditations through QCI, NABET or any other agencies were allowed to prepare the EIA report and the EMP for the project. Next comes the amendment of November 2016. Here, the projects that needed modernization, expansion, change in the product mix were exempted from prior environmental clearance. The amendment further provided that the project proponent follows the procedure for obtaining the certificate for no increase of pollution load with the concerned SPCB. Next comes the amendment of December 2016 that put in place a new framework and institutional structure for streamlining the EC process for building and construction sector. This amendment was a move towards delegating powers and enhancing the country's ease of doing responsible business. Next comes the amendment of 2021. In this year, the EIA notification 2006 was changed about 33 times through 24 official orders and 9 amendments. The significant amendments were related to the extension of the validity of existing environmental permissions, the extension of the terms of central and state expert appraisal panels and specific exemptions to the thermal power plants, pharmaceutical sector, manufacturing and mining of coal, minerals and other ordinary earth for linear projects, etc. These changes were sector specific, ease of regulations, tightening grip of expert panels and state authorities, corporate environment authority exempting additional sectors from public hearing and environmental clearance and changes to the clearance and compliance process. Next comes the amendment in the year 2022. This amendment exempted highway projects of strategic and defense importance from the environmental clearance process. Also with this, the exemptions to thermal power plants based on biomass or non-hazardous municipal solid waste and having a capacity of up to 15 megawatt and used auxiliary fuel up to 15% were exempted. Also with this, ports and harbors that cater to small fishermen and dealt in fishing were also exempted from environmental clearance. Also, toll plazas that needed width expansion to install collection booths and other expansion activities in airports without the increase in the airport's existing area were exempted from the environmental clearance process. So with this, we come to the end of this video. In conclusion, we can fairly assume that the amendments in the EIA notification post 2006 were an attempt to reduce the burden of the central government by decentralizing the issuance of environmental clearance and making the EC process more efficient. With numerous amendments in the 2006 version, it remains to be seen by what extent the government will modify the notification further or whether the 2020 draft notification will do justice to both the environment and the project proponents when it is implemented. Maintaining the balance between ease of doing business and environmental sustainability is a challenge the government must undertake, and whatever changes will be implemented when the 2020 draft notifications comes into effect, considering public comments and views, remains to be seen. Irrespective of the changes, the complexities of managing the environmental clearance process must be done under the guidance of experts for the seamless completions of projects and avoid any significant roadblocks. Corpbiz has a pan-India network of environmental experts and EIA consultants that can make your environmental clearance process seamless. So if you have any queries regarding your business or project, reach us from the details shown. Like and share this video if you found it informative. Thank you for watching.